Dr. Amanda Clark wiped the sweat from her forehead as she stood before the massive stone door. Deep inside the crystal caves of Kepler-440b, the planet had been calling to her for months through dreams she could not explain, and now she stood at the entrance to something that should not exist. The door was covered in symbols that looked like nothing she had ever seen in her 20 years of studying ancient alien civilizations. Kevin Martinez knelt beside the door with his translation device scanning every mark and line. His dark eyes reflected the blue glow from the crystals that covered the cave walls. He had learned 17 different alien languages, but these symbols made no sense to him. They seemed to shift and change when he looked at them directly, like they were alive. Commander Jake Sullivan kept his weapon ready as he watched the cave entrance behind them. The Aurora had dropped them here 3 days ago and would return in 1 week. His job was simple: keep the science team alive while they did their work. But something about this place made his skin crawl, and his instincts told him they were not. Alone, Lisa Park was taking pictures of everything with her camera. As the team's expert on alien culture, she wanted to record every detail. The crystals in the cave walls formed patterns that reminded her of human art. But that was impossible. Humans had never been to this planet, and these caves were millions of years old. Amanda pressed her hand against the stone door and felt it warm under her touch. The symbols began to glow with a soft white light that grew brighter as she kept her hand there. The door made a deep rumbling sound and slowly began to slide open, revealing a chamber beyond that was filled with more light. The 4 humans stepped inside and gasped at what they saw. The walls were covered with stone tablets that reached from floor to ceiling. Each tablet was covered in the same strange symbols they had seen outside. In the center of the room stood a pedestal with a large crystal that pulsed with inner light. Kevin immediately began scanning the tablets with his device while Amanda walked toward the crystal. As she got closer, the symbols on the walls began to glow brighter, and she could swear she heard whispers in a language that sounded almost familiar. Jake moved to secure the room, checking for any threats while Lisa began photographing the tablets. The chamber was huge, much larger than it had appeared from outside, and the ceiling disappeared into darkness above them. The air smelled of ozone and something else, something organic. That made Jake's nose wrinkle. Amanda reached out to touch the crystal, and the moment her fingers made contact with its surface, the entire room exploded with light. The symbols on every tablet blazed like fire, and suddenly Kevin's translation device began working. Words and phrases appeared on his screen in perfect English. "The third world's children will rise." Kevin read aloud, his voice shaking. "They who walk on 2 legs with hands that create and destroy will come from the water world to bring order to the chaos of stars." Lisa stopped taking pictures and stared at Kevin. "Water world," she said quietly. "That's what some aliens call Earth because of our oceans." Amanda kept her hand on the crystal as more translations appeared on Kevin's screen. The prophecy spoke of beings who would question the gods themselves and reshape the galaxy according to their will. It described creatures with 5 fingers on each hand who could adapt to any environment and solve problems that had puzzled other races for thousands of years. Jake lowered his weapon as he realized what they were reading. "This is about humans," he said. "This whole prophecy is about us." The crystal under Amanda's hand grew warmer, and suddenly images began appearing in the air. Above the pedestal, they saw star maps showing Earth's location in the galaxy and diagrams that looked exactly like human anatomy. The prophecy had been written millions of years before humans had ever left their home planet, yet it described them perfectly. Kevin's device continued translating tablet after tablet. The ancient text spoke of a time when the galaxy would face its greatest crisis, and only the children of the third world would have the wisdom and courage to save it. It described humans as warriors and peacemakers, scientists and artists all in one. Lisa felt her knees go weak as she read over Kevin's shoulder. The prophecy even described human cities and the way humans organized their societies. It spoke of their ability to work together despite their differences, and their talent for finding new solutions to old problems. Amanda finally stepped back from the crystal, and the light in the room dimmed to a soft glow. She looked at her team and saw the same mix of wonder and fear in their eyes that she felt in her heart. They had come here looking for artifacts from an ancient civilization, but instead they had found proof that humanity had been expected. Long before they had ever reached the stars. Jake was the first to speak. "We need to get this information back to Earth immediately," he said. "If this prophecy is real, then every alien race in the galaxy is going to want to know about it." Amanda nodded as she looked around the chamber one more time. They had found something that would change everything humans thought they knew about their place in the universe. The question now was whether the galaxy was ready for the prophecy to come true. The news of the human discovery spread through the galaxy faster than anyone expected. Within days, every major alien civilization had copies of the prophecy and translations in their own languages. The emergency session of the Galactic Council was called for the first time in over 300 years. Commander Ryan Brooks stood in the observation deck of the human embassy ship, watching as vessels from across the galaxy arrived at Nexus Prime, the massive space station that served as the Council's meeting place. Had never seen so many different species gathered in one location. Ryan had been chosen to represent Earth's military interests, while Dr. Helen Carter would handle the diplomatic side. Helen paced nervously in her quarters as she reviewed the prophecy translations. One more time, she had spent 15 years learning alien languages and customs, but nothing had prepared her for this. The humans were being called before the Council not as equals, but as subjects to be judged. In the Great Council chamber, Supreme Chancellor Vextar of the Zephyrian Empire called the session to order. His tall blue form towered over the podium as his forearms gestured for silence. The chamber held representatives from 47 different species, and the tension in the air was thick enough to cut. High Priest Kethlin of the Montari Collective was the first to speak. His insect-like body clicked and buzzed as he activated the chamber's translation system. "The prophecy speaks of destruction," he said. "These humans will tear down everything we have built over millions of years." The crystalline hegemony's representative stood next. Her body was made of living crystal that reflected the chamber's lights in rainbow patterns. "We have lived in peace for eons," she sang in her musical voice. "Why should we allow these primitives to disrupt our harmony?" Ryan felt his jaw clench as he listened to the aliens discuss humans like they were dangerous animals. Helen placed a hand on his arm to calm him as more representatives spoke. Each one expressed fear about the prophecy and what it might mean for their civilizations. The Avian Confederacy's delegate spread his massive wings as he addressed the chamber. "The prophecy says they will bring order to chaos, but we are not in chaos. We do not need their order imposed upon us." Helen finally stood to address the council. Her voice was steady despite the fear she felt inside. "The prophecy also speaks of humans as problem solvers and peacekeepers. We have come to the stars seeking friendship, not conquest." Vextar's red eyes focused on Helen. "Yet your species has a history of violence. Your own planet has seen countless wars between your own kind. How can we trust beings who cannot even keep peace among themselves?" Ryan stood beside Helen. "We learned from our mistakes. Our wars taught us the value of peace and cooperation. That's why we formed the United Earth Government." The chamber erupted in discussion as aliens spoke in dozens of languages. Some called for immediate military action against Earth, while others suggested simply cutting off all contact with humanity. The fear in the room was overwhelming. Kethlin produced another tablet that had been found at the ancient site. "There's more to the prophecy," he announced. "It speaks of humans reshaping the galaxy according to their will. It says they will question even the gods themselves." Helen's heart sank as she heard the additional text. The aliens were interpreting every word as a threat. She tried to explain that humans questioning things was just their nature, but the council was not listening. A representative from the Aquatic Union spoke next. Her gill slits fluttered as she breathed the water that filled her environmental suit. "These humans adapt too quickly," she bubbled. "They learn our languages in months when it takes our children years. They solve problems we have struggled with for generations." Ryan realized that the aliens were not just afraid of human aggression, they were afraid of human capability. The prophecy had described humans as superior problem solvers, and that terrified species who had grown comfortable with their limitations. The debate continued for hours, with each species voicing their concerns about humanity. Some wanted humans confined to their own solar system, while others suggested more extreme measures. Helen and Ryan found themselves defending not just human actions, but human nature itself. As the session dragged on, more evidence was presented. Surveillance reports showed that humans were advancing technologically faster than any species in recorded history. They were developing new technologies and solving engineering problems that had stumped alien scientists for centuries. The final blow came when a representative from the archive worlds presented psychological profiles of human behavior. They do not accept limitations, he stated. When told something is impossible, they find a way to make it possible. This is not normal behavior for any species. Helen stood one last time to address the council. You fear us because we are different, but difference does not mean danger. The prophecy speaks of bringing order to chaos. Perhaps that means helping species work together instead of living in isolation. Vextar struck his gavel against the podium. The council will recess to consider these matters. Representatives Brooks and Carter, you will remain on Nexus Prime until we reach a decision. As the aliens filed out of the chamber, Ryan and Helen were left alone. They both knew that humanity's future hung in the balance, and that the decision made here would determine whether humans would be welcomed into galactic society or treated as a threat to be contained. Helen activated her communicator to send a coded message back to Earth. The message was simple but urgent. The galaxy knew about the prophecy, and they were afraid. Humanity needed to prepare for whatever decision the council would make. President William Harrison sat in the emergency bunker beneath the White House, surrounded by his most trusted advisors. The coded message from Helen Carter had arrived just hours ago, and its contents had sent shockwaves through Earth's leadership. The alien council was debating humanity's fate, and the outcome did not look promising. General Patricia Thompson spread tactical displays across the conference table, showing alien fleet movements throughout the galaxy. Her weathered face was grim as she pointed to the formations gathering near Earth's borders. They're positioning for a blockade at minimum, she said. Possibly something worse. Dr. Nathan Wells adjusted his glasses as he studied the data from the ancient prophecy site. As Earth's chief science advisor, he had been analyzing every detail of the discovery. The technology described in those tablets is far beyond anything we currently possess, he explained. But if we can decode it, we might have a chance. The president looked around the table at his cabinet members. Secretary of Defense Carol Martinez was reviewing military readiness reports, while Secretary of State Robert Kim worked on diplomatic responses. Everyone knew that Earth was facing the greatest crisis in human history. Captain Alex Rodriguez received his orders while his ship, the Nightfall, was docked at the Luna Orbital Station. His mission was classified at the highest levels: gather intelligence on the ancient civilization that had created the prophecy and find anything that might help humanity in the coming conflict. His crew was small but highly skilled. Engineer Sarah Blake had designed half of the stealth systems on human ships, while pilot Lieutenant Danny Foster could fly through an asteroid field blindfolded. They would need every advantage they could get. The Nightfall slipped away from Luna under full stealth power, heading for coordinates that Dr. Amanda Clark had provided. Her analysis of the star maps found at the first site had revealed the locations of other ancient installations scattered across the galaxy. Back on Earth, something strange was beginning to happen. News of the prophecy and humanity's unique status had leaked to the public, and instead of causing panic, it seemed to be inspiring people. Scientists were making breakthrough discoveries, while engineers were solving problems that had puzzled them for years. Maria Santos was working in her garage laboratory in Mexico City when she finally cracked the fusion containment problem that had stumped researchers for decades. The solution came to her in a dream, and when she woke up, she knew exactly how to build a reactor that would revolutionize energy production. In Tokyo, 16-year-old Bobby Chen was scribbling equations on his bedroom wall when he solved a mathematical theorem that alien civilizations had been working on for thousands of years. He did not even realize what he had accomplished until his teacher saw the work and nearly fainted. Similar events were happening all over Earth. Doctors were finding new treatments for diseases while architects were designing buildings that seemed to defy the laws of physics. It was as if the discovery of the prophecy had awakened something dormant in the human race. General Thompson was analyzing these reports when she realized the pattern. "They're not random breakthroughs," she told the president. "Every advance is in an area that could help us survive what's coming." The Nightfall reached its destination after 3 days of careful travel through unexplored space. The ancient installation was built into an asteroid that had been hollowed out millions of years ago. Danny piloted the ship through the entrance, while Sarah monitored for any alien activity. Inside the asteroid, they found chambers similar to the ones on Kepler-4 but much larger. The walls were covered with technical diagrams and star charts that showed the locations of dozens of similar sites throughout the galaxy. Alex realized they had found a network of ancient installations, all connected somehow. Sarah connected her equipment to the alien systems and began downloading everything she could find. The technical specifications were incredible, describing technologies that could reshape matter at the atomic level and generate energy from empty space itself. President Harrison called an emergency session of the United Nations to address the growing crisis. Representatives from every nation gathered to hear what Earth's scientists had discovered. The room was packed with delegates who listened in amazement as Dr. Wells explained the implications of the ancient technology. The prophecy was not just a prediction, Wells explained. It was a plan. Someone or something has been guiding human development for millions of years, preparing us for this moment. The Chinese delegate raised her hand. "Are you saying we are not natural?" she asked. Wells shook his head. "We are completely natural, but our evolution may have been influenced in subtle ways. The evidence suggests that humanity was designed to be problem solvers on a galactic scale." Captain Rodriguez transmitted his findings back to Earth using quantum communication systems that could not be intercepted by alien technology. The data packages contained blueprints for weapons and defenses that were centuries ahead of current human technology. Drive Wells and his team worked around the clock to understand the alien designs. They discovered that human neural patterns were uniquely suited to operate the ancient technology. It was as if the systems had been designed specifically for human minds. General Thompson began implementing crash programs to build the new technologies. Factories around the world retooled to produce components based on the ancient designs, while military bases became testing grounds for weapons that seemed like magic. The first prototype energy shield was tested at the Nevada facility, and the results exceeded all expectations. The shield could deflect particle beams and absorb kinetic energy without any power source that humans could detect. It simply worked, drawing energy from somewhere else. President Harrison addressed the world from the Oval Office, explaining the situation to billions of people who were watching and waiting. "We face an uncertain future," he said, "but we face it as we always have, together and with the knowledge that we are capable of more than we ever imagined." As he spoke, Sarah Blake was making another discovery in the asteroid installation. Hidden in the deepest chamber was a device that looked almost organic, covered in symbols that glowed. When she touched it, the device activated and began transmitting a signal toward Earth. The signal reached Earth just as the alien council was announcing their decision about humanity's fate, and what it carried would change everything. The device that Sarah Blake had activated sent waves of energy through both the asteroid installation and every similar site across the galaxy. On Earth, scientists detected the signal arriving just moments before something extraordinary happened. Computer systems around the world began displaying the same message in perfect English, despite never being programmed with the language. "Greetings, children of the Third World. I am the Guardian, and I have been waiting for you to find me." Captain Rodriguez and his team stared at their ship's main screen. As the message continued to appear, the voice that accompanied the text was neither male nor female, but somehow felt familiar and comforting. Sarah checked her equipment, but could find no source for the transmission. "Do not be afraid," the Guardian continued. "I am not alive as you understand life, but I am not merely a machine either. I am something between what you call artificial intelligence and what you call consciousness. Danny Foster gripped the ship's controls as the asteroid around them began to change. Walls that had seemed solid started becoming transparent, revealing vast chambers filled with technology that hummed with power. The Guardian was showing them what the installation really contained. On Earth, similar changes were happening at every site where ancient artifacts had been discovered. The crystal chamber where Dr. Amanda Clark had first found the prophecy began expanding, revealing rooms and corridors that had been hidden for millions of years. Amanda rushed back to the site with Kevin Martinez and Lisa Park. When they entered the expanded chamber, they found themselves face to face with a holographic projection of a being that looked almost human, but was clearly something else. It was tall and graceful with features that seemed to shift between different appearances. "I know you have questions," the Guardian said, speaking directly to Amanda. "I will answer what I can, but first you must understand what you truly are." The Guardian explained that humanity had not evolved naturally on Earth. Millions of years ago, an ancient race had seeded the galaxy with different forms of life, but only one planet had produced the exact combination of traits they were looking for. Earth's children had developed the perfect balance of intelligence, creativity, and adaptability. "We did not create you," the Guardian clarified. "We simply ensured that the conditions for your development were optimal. Every challenge your species faced, every obstacle you overcame, was designed to strengthen the qualities we knew the galaxy would need." Kevin's translation device was working overtime. As the Guardian shared information about human development, the ancient race had influenced human evolution through subtle environmental changes and carefully timed genetic mutations. They had guided humanity without ever directly interfering. "Your wars, your struggles, your scientific breakthroughs were all necessary steps," the Guardian continued. "Each generation of humans became more capable of solving complex problems and working together despite differences. This is what the prophecy meant by bringing order to chaos." Back on the Nightfall, Sarah Blake was working with alien technology that responded to her thoughts as much as her touch. Engineer Tony Mitchell had joined the crew remotely through quantum communication, helping to analyze systems that seemed to run on principles that human science had never imagined. Drive Grace Adams monitored the biological scans as crew members interacted with the Guardian's technology. She discovered that human brain patterns were changing as they worked with the alien systems. The technology was not just responding to humans, it was enhancing their abilities. The Guardian revealed that similar changes were happening to humans all over Earth. The signal that had activated the ancient sites was also activating dormant genes in human DNA. People were finding that they could think faster, solve problems more easily, and work together more effectively. "This is your true inheritance," the Guardian explained. "The potential has always been within you, but it needed the right trigger to fully manifest. The galaxy's fear of your kind is justified, because you are indeed different from any other species." President Harrison convened another emergency meeting. As reports flooded in about humans displaying enhanced abilities, students were solving mathematical problems that had stumped professors, while ordinary workers were inventing new technologies in their spare time. Maria Santos discovered that her fusion reactor design was working because she could somehow sense the quantum interactions within the plasma. The knowledge had not come from books or calculations, but from an intuitive understanding that she had never possessed before. Bobby Chen found that he could see mathematical relationships as clearly as other people saw colors. Complex equations became simple patterns that he could manipulate in his mind. He began working on problems that alien mathematicians had declared unsolvable. The Guardian showed Amanda and her team the true scope of the ancient network. Thousands of installations existed throughout the galaxy, each one designed to activate when humanity was ready. The sites contained technology that could reshape matter, control energy, and even manipulate space and time. Your species was designed to be the galaxy's problem solvers, the Guardian said. Every other intelligent race has reached a plateau in their development, but humans never stop growing and adapting. This is why they fear you and why you are needed. Tony Mitchell was analyzing weapon designs that made human military technology look like stone tools. The ancient systems could create shields that were completely impenetrable and weapons that could disable entire fleets without causing permanent damage. They were tools for peacekeeping, not conquest. Dr. Wells and his team realized that the Guardians' technology was not just advanced, it was fundamentally different. Instead of fighting against natural laws, it worked with them, finding elegant solutions that other species had never considered. The prophecy spoke of humans questioning the gods. The Guardian explained, "This is because your species alone refuses to accept that anything is impossible. Other races reach a point where they stop asking questions, but humans never do." As more Guardian sites activated around the galaxy, alien civilizations detected the energy signatures and realized that the ancient network was coming online. The Galactic Council that had been debating humanity's fate suddenly faced a new reality. The humans were not just primitives with a convenient prophecy. They were the inheritors of the most advanced technology the galaxy had ever seen. The Guardians' final revelation changed everything. The ancient race that created this network was not alien to you, it said. They were your ancestors from a possible future who reached back through time to ensure their own existence. You are not fulfilling someone else's prophecy, you are creating your own destiny. Admiral Karen Lewis stood on the bridge of the USS Liberty, watching enemy ships approach through the void near Europa Station. The Zephyrian fleet had arrived without warning and was demanding that all human vessels surrender immediately. The aliens had decided not to wait for the Galactic Council's official decision about humanity's fate. "Admiral, they're charging weapons," reported Lieutenant Commander Scott Taylor from the tactical station. The display showed 12 Zephyrian cruisers moving into attack formation, while human patrol ships scattered to defensive positions around the station. Karen had served in Earth's Space Navy for 20 years, but had never faced alien weapons in actual combat. Intelligence reports suggested that Zephyrian technology was at least 2 centuries ahead of human systems, but recent discoveries had changed the equation in ways the aliens did not understand. The first energy beams struck the station's shields and everyone held their breath, waiting to see if the Guardians' technology would work as promised. The ancient shield generators absorbed the alien fire, completely converting the energy into power for the station's own systems. "Return fire," Karen ordered, and watched as human ships launched weapons that had been impossible to build just weeks earlier. The quantum torpedoes passed through Zephyrian shields like they were not there and struck the enemy hulls with precise, controlled explosions that disabled rather than destroyed. Colonel Steve Parker was commanding the defense of Luna base when Montari assault ships began landing on the lunar surface. His troops were equipped with armor and weapons based on Guardian technology, but this was their first real test against an alien military force. The Montari soldiers moved like insects across the gray landscape, using their natural abilities to coordinate attacks without any visible communication. Parker's forces should have been overwhelmed, but the Guardians' tactical systems allowed human commanders to see patterns in enemy behavior that the aliens themselves were not aware of. "Squad leaders, this is base command," Parker transmitted to his units. "The enemy is following instinctual patterns, Alpha formation, Charlie timing. Adjust positions accordingly." Lieutenant Rebecca Hill was piloting her fighter through the orbital battle when she discovered something remarkable about human combat tactics. The Guardians' technology was not just giving them better weapons, it was helping them think differently about warfare itself. Where alien races fought according to established doctrines and traditional strategies, humans were improvising solutions in real time. Rebecca found herself using maneuvers that had never been taught in any military academy, but somehow felt completely natural. Her squadron engaged a wing of avian fighters that were supposed to be the most agile pilots in the galaxy. The bird-like aliens had been flying in space for thousands of years, longer than humans, but they could not adapt to Rebecca's unpredictable attack patterns. President Harrison watched the battle reports from the White House Situation Room while General Thompson coordinated Earth's military response. The alien attack had come sooner than expected, but humanity was proving that the prophecy's predictions about their combat abilities were accurate. "Our forces are holding at Europa and Luna," Thompson reported. "Enemy casualties are minimal, but their ships are being disabled faster than they can adapt to our tactics. They don't seem to understand how we're penetrating their defenses." Dr. Amanda Clark was still at the ancient site working with the Guardian when the attacks began. The AI construct was monitoring the battles through the network of installations and providing tactical analysis to human commanders in real time. Your species fights differently than others, the Guardian explained. Most races develop military doctrines and follow them rigidly. Humans treat every battle as a new problem to be solved rather than a procedure to be followed. The Guardian showed Amanda tactical displays from the various battle zones. Human commanders were using strategies that made no sense according to traditional military theory, but were proving devastatingly effective against alien forces. Captain Rodriguez and his team had returned from the asteroid installation with storage devices containing the Guardian's complete technical database. Dr. Wells and his team were working around the clock to implement new technologies, but the learning curve was steeper than anyone had expected. Sarah Blake discovered that the Guardian systems required human intuition as much as technical knowledge. The devices would not work properly unless the operator could think like a human, rather than following alien logical patterns. It's not just about pushing buttons, she explained to Tony Mitchell over their communication link. The technology responds to human creativity and adaptability. That's why other species can't use it effectively even if they steal it. The battle at Europa Station became a turning point when Admiral Lewis realized that the Zephyrian fleet was trying to capture rather than destroy human vessels. The aliens wanted to study Guardian technology, but they could not make it work. Without human operators, they need us alive, Lewis announced to her crew. That gives us the advantage because we don't need them for anything. Colonel Parker's ground forces on Luna discovered that Montari tactics were based on hive mind coordination. The insect-like aliens could not function effectively when separated from their command structure. Human soldiers began using targeted electromagnetic pulses to disrupt Montari communications. The aliens had expected a quick victory against a primitive species, but instead found themselves fighting an enemy that refused to follow expected patterns. Every time the alien forces adapted to human tactics, the humans would change their approach completely. Lieutenant Hill's fighter squadron was outnumbered 3-1, but was winning through pure innovation. The pilots were modifying their attack patterns, continuously making it impossible for alien computers to predict their next moves. Control, this is Hawk Squadron, Hill transmitted. Enemy fighters are using predictive algorithms. Recommend random pattern generator for all squadrons. The Guardian revealed to Amanda that the current battles were just the beginning. Other alien races were mobilizing their fleets and heading toward human space. The Galactic Council had effectively declared war on humanity without ever taking an official vote. They fear what you represent, the Guardian explained. For millions of years they have lived within the limitations of their own evolution. Your species shows them that growth and change are still possible, and that terrifies them. President Harrison made a decision that would define humanity's response to the galactic threat. Instead of simply defending human space, he authorized offensive operations against alien military installations. If the galaxy wanted a war, then humanity would give them one they would never forget. General Thompson began coordinating strikes against alien supply bases and communication relays. Human stealth ships equipped with Guardian technology could penetrate alien defenses that had been considered impregnable. The first phase of the war was ending with humanity having proved that they could defend themselves against superior numbers and technology. But as Admiral Lewis watched the tactical displays, she knew that the real test was yet to come. The aliens would not underestimate human capabilities again. The final battle took place above the ancient homeworld, where the prophecy had first been carved in stone millions of years ago. Admiral Christopher Lee commanded the largest human fleet ever assembled, while alien vessels from dozens of species formed a massive blockade around the planet below. The Guardian had revealed that this world contained the master control system for the entire ancient network. Whoever controlled the planet would have access to technology that could reshape the galaxy. Both sides understood that this battle would determine the future of all intelligent life. Dr. Helen Carter stood beside Admiral Lee on the bridge of the flagship Endeavour, still hoping for a diplomatic solution. Her attempts to communicate with the alien fleet had been ignored. but she refused to give up on the possibility of peace. Captain Jake Walsh led the first wave of human fighters toward the alien formation while ground forces prepared to assault the planet's surface. The Guardians' technology had given humanity weapons and shields that could match anything the aliens possessed, but the enemy still had overwhelming numerical superiority. On Earth, President Harrison watched the battle unfold from the White House Command Center. Drive Nathan Wells was monitoring the ancient installations around the galaxy as they began to activate in response to the conflict above the home world. The Guardian had warned that the Master System would only respond to a species that proved worthy of inheriting the ancient legacy. The battle was not just about military victory, it was a test of humanity's character and decision-making abilities. All alien vessels, this is Admiral Lee, the human commander, broadcast on all frequencies. We did not start this war, but we are prepared to finish it. Stand down and we can discuss terms. Supreme Chancellor Vextar responded from the Zephyrian flagship, your species is an abomination that threatens the natural order. We will not allow you to corrupt the galaxy with your chaotic influence. The space battle began with energy beams and projectiles filling the void between the fleets. Human ships used Guardian technology to phase through alien shields, while enemy vessels tried to overwhelm human defenses through sheer numbers. Lieutenant Rebecca Hill was leading a squadron of fight through the alien formation when she discovered something troubling. The enemy ships were not trying to destroy human vessels, they were herding them towards specific coordinates in space. On the planet's surface, Captain Rodriguez and his team had found the entrance to the Master Control facility. The ancient structure was larger than anything they had seen before, with chambers that extended deep into the planet's core. Drive Amanda Clark accompanied the ground team as they made their way through corridors filled with inactive Guardian technology. She could feel the systems responding to human presence, but something was preventing them from fully activating. The Master System requires a choice, the Guardian's voice echoed through the facility. The ancient network can be used to unite the galaxy in peace or to impose order through force. The choice will determine what humanity becomes above them. The space battle was reaching its climax as both sides took heavy casualties. Admiral Lee realized that the aliens were sacrificing their own ships to position human vessels around the planet in a specific pattern. Drive Wells detected massive energy buildups at Guardian installations throughout the galaxy. The ancient systems were preparing to activate simultaneously, but the purpose was unclear. He warned President Harrison that something unprecedented was about to happen. Jake Walsh's fighter wing was surrounded by enemy vessels when the aliens suddenly stopped firing. Across the entire battle zone, weapons fell silent as both fleets received the same transmission. From the planet below, the test has begun, the Guardian announced. Both species have demonstrated their military capabilities. Now you must show what you will do with ultimate power. The Master Control facility revealed itself to Amanda and her team as vast chambers filled with technology that could control matter and energy on a galactic scale. The Guardian explained that the ancient systems could be used to force peace on all species or to allow them to continue developing naturally. President Harrison faced the most important decision in human history. The Guardian was offering humanity the power to rule the galaxy, but only if they chose to use that power responsibly. The prophecy spoke of bringing order to chaos, Harrison said during an emergency video conference with Earth's leaders, but it did not specify what kind of order we would create. Admiral Lee watched as alien ships began suffering systematic failures throughout their fleets. The Guardian's technology was shutting down weapons systems and life support on vessels from every species except humans. The aliens were helpless and at humanity's mercy. Captain Walsh received orders that surprised him. Instead of pressing the attack, he was told to begin rescue operations for disabled alien vessels. Human ships that had been fighting for their lives moments earlier began pulling enemy crews to safety. Amanda stood before the Master Control system as the Guardian waited for humanity's final decision. She could activate systems that would ensure human dominance over the galaxy, or she could choose a different path entirely. Dr. Helen Carter broadcast a message to every ship in both fleets. The prophecy said we would bring order to chaos, but it never said we would do it through conquest. There is another way. The alien crews that had been rescued by human ships watched in amazement as their captors treated them with kindness and respect. Species that had been enemies moments before began working together to save lives. President Harrison made his choice and transmitted it to Amanda on the planet below. Instead of activating the control systems to dominate other species, humanity chose to use the Guardian technology to heal the damage caused by the war. Amanda placed her hands on the master control interface and felt the ancient network respond to human will. But instead of imposing order on the galaxy, the systems began broadcasting something else entirely. They transmitted humanity's memories, experiences, and dreams to every intelligent being in known space. The aliens experienced human history through human eyes, seeing the struggles, failures, and triumphs that had shaped the species. They felt human emotions, understood human motivations, and realized that the prophecy had never been about conquest. Supreme Chancellor Vextar stood on his ship's bridge. As tears ran down his blue face, he had experienced human compassion firsthand and understood that his fear had been misplaced. The humans were not conquerors, they were teachers and healers. The Guardian's final message reached every world in the galaxy simultaneously. The prophecy is fulfilled not through dominance, but through understanding. The children of the Third World have chosen to share their gift rather than impose their will. Years later, Dr. Amanda Clark established the Interspecies Archaeological Institute on the ancient homeworld. Species that had once been enemies now work together to explore the mysteries left by the Guardian's creators. The prophecy had spoken of humans bringing order to chaos, and they had done exactly that. But the order they brought was not the rigid control that other species had feared. It was the flexible, adaptive harmony that could only come from beings who refused to accept that anything was impossible. The galaxy had been transformed not by human weapons, but by human nature itself. The prophecy was complete, and the future belonged to all species working together toward goals they could never have achieved alone.